Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review. And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs at the Arizona Cardinals. And you can catch this Week 14 matchup on December 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And that'll be aired on your local CBS affiliates. And this is Upon Further Review. And what we do is we have Madden highlights from the gameplay. I play the game out. I take the team that I think is going to win. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to win this game, so I played as the Arizona Cardinals, and these are the highlights from that gameplay from Madden. And while we're watching these highlights, I'm going to do the Upon Further Review show where I go over all the stats for these teams in this matchup. So the Kansas City Chiefs are 7-5 heading into this game, and the Arizona Cardinals are 9-3. The Chiefs started off 0-2 this season. They lost to the Titans in Week 1 at Arrowhead, and then they went to Mile High and they lost to the Broncos. They almost came back to, win that game, but they fell short and they lost by a touchdown. And then in Week 3, they went to Miami and they picked up their first win with a big win against the Dolphins, double-digit victory. They won by 19 points. And then in Week 4, they evened up their record at 500 with a huge victory on Monday Night Football in front of a primetime nationwide audience against the Patriots. They blew out the Patriots, and they made a real big statement there, but then they lost the next game in San Francisco to the 49ers, a close game. They lost by 5 points, but then they went on a 5-game winning streak as they beat the Chargers in San Diego, then they beat the Rams and the Jets in Arrowhead, then they went to Buffalo and they won a tight game against the Bills. They beat the Seahawks in Arrowhead, but then they went to Oakland, and on Thursday Night Football they lost to the Raiders. That was the first time the Raiders won all year, and that's kind of how that happens. Is usually a team that hasn't won any games will pick up their first victory against a division rival, and that was a tight game. It came down to 4 points and Oakland won it. But then in Week 13, the Chiefs had a rematch against the Broncos. This time it was in Kansas City, and they got swept by Denver. So their hopes of possibly winning the West kind of fell apart in last week. Of course, they're not out of it yet. They're still in the mix in the playoff hunt. 4 weeks left. They're 7-5. They got a tough game here in Week 14 against the Cardinals. The Cardinals, at one point, they were the hottest team in football. Everybody was talking about them as a sure thing to be the champions in the NFC West division and possibly go all the way. But that's kind of changed lately as they've gone on a 2-game losing streak. But they started off the season 3-0. They were undefeated in the month of September. They won on Monday Night Football in Week 1 against the San Diego Chargers by 1 point. Then in Week 2, they went to New York and they beat the Giants. They then hosted the Niners and they beat them. They had their bye week in Week 4. Then in Week 5, they lost their first game of the season, and that was against the Broncos in Mile High. They lost by 3 touchdowns. Of course, it was a close game. It was an 8-point game, and then Denver just closed strong and just ran away with it. And of course, they were without Carson Palmer in that game, and during that stretch, as Palmer went down, a few weeks earlier. But he did come back in Week 6, and when Palmer came back, that was the beginning of a 6-game winning streak where they beat the Redskins in Arizona. Then they went to Oakland, they beat the Raiders, then they hosted the Eagles and they beat them, and then they went to Dallas and they beat the Cowboys, then they hosted the Rams and then the Lions, and that was 6 games in a row that they won. And that last game against the Lions in the streak there, Stanton actually threw for 306 yards as Carson Palmer was injured again in the week before, re-injured. But then in Week 12 and in Week 13, the last 2 games, they've been on that 2-game losing streak. As I said, first they went to Seattle and they lost to the Seahawks. The Seahawks avenged their only loss in at home from last year. Of course, they did lose to the Cowboys earlier in this season, but last year the only team the Seahawks lost to in Seattle was Arizona. They beat them this time around. And then, reeling from that loss, the Cardinals went to Atlanta against the Falcons team that, although they are 3 games below 500 at home in the Georgia Dome, the Falcons are actually pretty tough when they get going. They had a lot of injuries earlier in the season, and that's part of why they have so many losses. But they do have a potent offense, and they put up 29 points against a tough Cardinals defense, especially a secondary that's definitely missing the Honey Badger. But right here, the Cardinals are going to be hosting the Chiefs this week. And I think the Cardinals get back in the win column. They get the win against the Chiefs. These two teams here are actually two teams that I thought were going to have really good seasons this year. At the beginning of the season, they both, showed some very promising signs last year. And they've, again, been very competitive, all season. Both of these teams have put together, big streaks. The Chiefs had that 5-game winning streak. The Cardinals had a 6-game winning streak. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing you need to do if you want to have success heading into the playoffs, is build a streak. Of course, I said the Cardinals coming off the 2-game. Both these teams coming off the 2 games losing streaks. So, very similar stretches for these teams in the last 2 months. And we'll see in this final month of the season how they close out, if they can close strong. It's not looking too good for either of them. Yes and no. I mean, it's weird to say that, right? They're both above 500. You think, hey, that's good. How could it not be good? But with the Chiefs having to deal with both San Diego and Denver in front of them, with Arizona got Seattle right on their heels, and they have to face them again. Of course, that will be in Arizona, though, so we'll see how that plays out. But it's really injuries that's really been the thing for these two teams that's really put a damper on their season, in a season that should be a lot more, you should be celebrating right now. Of course, a 2-game losing streak will put you down in the dumps. There's no reason why these two teams can't have success in the month of December. At least the Chiefs have a good defense. They both have good defense. The Chiefs have a really good running game. And a good running game usually will get you wins in December, and road wins as well. So the Chiefs should be competitive in this game. Although, as I said, I'm picking the Cardinals. And the Cardinals, they've also got a lot of injuries. Both teams, like I said, just lots of injuries. All the teams right now have lots of injuries at this point of the year. But they're missing some key players over there on the Arizona side with Andre Ellington out. Of course, as I said, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, is out, and there's a couple other players as well. Stinson and Faneka are both out for the Cardinals. Of course, the Chiefs, they're missing Bailey and Hemingway are not going to be playing. But there's a huge list of players that are banged up. They probably will play. They did practice on both sides. So let's go over the stats for these two teams. Go inside the numbers. Actually, look at the simulation, though, kind of dominating the Chiefs in this Madden gameplay highlights that you're watching here. I took basically what I did was just cut out all the selecting plays stuff, so that way you don't have to watch me select the play. Do you really want to watch me select the play? Sometimes I end up getting lost in the upon further review, and I'll not pick a play for a long period of time. So hey, why not just play the game, edit it, and then do the show to the highlights. But right now, I don't know if you're seeing green. I apologize for that. There's some technical issues. I'm trying to fix it and make it as good as possible. Always trying to improve the show. And leave some comments to let me know if you have any tips on any ways that you might, any advice, or also just any constructive criticism, or let me know what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. But let's go over the numbers. As I was saying, when it comes to passing proficiency, the Chiefs are 31st in the NFL in passing yards per game. The Cardinals are 14th. So the Chiefs really don't pass the ball really at all. And the Cardinals, they do though. They actually, especially with Carson Palmer, but Drew Stanton as well. Like I said, he had 300 yards a couple weeks back. We look at the pass defenses, though. The Chiefs are the #1 pass defense in the NFL in terms of yards allowed through the air. The Cardinals, 27th. And that's an interesting thing to look at. The Chiefs don't necessarily get enough credit. They're kind of overlooked and underrated. I mean, they got an incredible pass rush. Justin Houston is having a huge year. And they've got a great defense, especially against the pass. The Cardinals, it's kind of interesting. You always hear all the experts and analysts on ESPN and NFL and everything talking about how great the Cardinals secondary is, and they are. They're very talented. They've got a great secondary. But the thing is, the Cardinals let up a lot of passing yards. Why is this? It's because they blitz on more than 50% of their plays. So they're just blitz. They're approaching like 60% blitzes. And when they put their guys out on an island, so you got Peterson and Cromartie out there man-to-man, and what'll happen is, you get the slot receiver there against nickel. Now they got some injuries too, but even before that, what happens is with all the guys blitzing, somebody's left open, and they're always man-to-man, and that allows for a lot of yards. But they're a bend but don't break type of offense. They stop the run. They let up yards through the air, but not points on the scoreboard. We'll get a little bit more into that here as we're going over the numbers. But the Chiefs, though, they just will get in your face and shut you down and sack your quarterback over and over. But yeah, when it comes to the passing, you got to give the edge to the Chiefs because of their pass rush. Although they don't really throw the ball so much. The Cardinals do throw it a lot more, but they're going to have their hands full against the Chiefs pass rush. And with, it's tough to say, though. You almost want the Cardinals almost have the advantage, but you almost want to say it's a push. But just the Chiefs defense is just so crazy against the pass. They don't let up yards, and they get a lot of sacks and turnovers. But let's look at the numbers on the ground. The Chiefs are 7th when it comes to rushing yards per game. The Cardinals 31st. So the Chiefs kind of live and die on the running game. That's what they're all about. Jamal Charles, now Davis, D'Anthony Thomas, even Alex Smith. He's one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. And people don't necessarily give him enough credit for his skills with his legs. The Cardinals, though, they don't really have a lot of success rushing the ball. Andre Ellington is good, but he's really the only guy on their team that picks up any yards on the ground at all. And that's about the extent of it with them. And he is part of their passing game, too, but they said they don't really pick up yards on the ground. They don't really run the ball that much. They don't really have another running back other than Ellington, and Ellington's not going to be in this game. You've seen the simulation here. I'm blowing it up with Taylor. He's killing it, but that's not really indicative of how it's going to go. I think in real life they're going to have to do a lot of short passing to try to that's what it's going to take for the Cardinals to win this game, is that Drew Stanton's got to get rid of the ball quick. He's just take quick drops, like a 3-step drop, boom. He can't hold the ball for longer than like 3 seconds. Just boom, 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 get rid of the ball. Short passes, that's how you beat the blitz. That's how you beat the Chiefs. Same thing on the other side too, but when it comes to run defense, the Chiefs are 30th in yards allowed. The Cardinals are 6th. So the Chiefs, they allow a lot of yards on the ground. That's the way to beat them, actually. The Cardinals, they don't. They shut down the run. And that's actually what's going to make this an interesting game to watch. Like I said, they're very evenly matched up where their strengths are. The strength of the Chiefs is their running game. The strength of the Cardinals defense is their run defense. Truth be told, that's the numbers. That's what it is. Because they bring everybody up there, and all those blitzes, they're getting guys in the backfield and stopping guys for losses. So, when it comes to on the ground, though, it's tough to say, but you gotta have to give it to the Chiefs, really, just because they have that. Such a good running game. And then we look at points for and against. The Chiefs are 15th in points scored. The Cardinals are 20th. And they're tied for 4th, these two teams, in points allowed. So they're right there. Their defenses are freaking... They're almost like the same type of thing, because you got... here's our player of the game, Antonio Cromartie, with that interception. But what it is, like their defenses... The Chiefs will allow yards on the ground. The Cardinals will allow yards in the passing game. But neither of them will allow touchdowns. They force teams to go for field goals. Like I said, they bend, but they don't break. And they have their own ways of doing it. They're both like to blitz a lot. And so it'll be interesting to see how it all matches up. And again, the slight edge to the Chiefs statistically. The Chiefs on paper actually should fare well in this game, and possibly even maybe they win. I know a lot of people actually think that they are going to win. I'm not one of them. I'm still riding with the Cardinals. I don't care that they lost 2 games in a row. I still believe in the Cardinals defense. I still believe in the Cardinals coaching staff, really. They're a very well coached team, and I think they can pull off the victory. Although it's going to be an interesting and exciting game to watch. It should come down the wire. It could go either way. Like I said, I'm taking Arizona. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think the Chiefs can pull off the road victory? Do you think Arizona's going to win at home? Also, let me know what you think of the show. If you like it, hit the like button. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. We're bringing you tons of videos every single week. Go look at our video section. It's freaking ridiculous. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.